Here we go. Mets, Dodgers, game one in Los Angeles tonight at 8:15 p.m. on Fox in prime time. The Giants play at the same time. It's New York Mets baseball. It's the National League Championship Series. Now, in the last 35 years, the Mets have made 4 NLCSs, and they made it in 86, 88, 99, 2000, 2006, 2015. After 1988, it was 99, 2000, 2006, 2015. None of them ending with World Series titles. The road to number 3 begins tonight in Los Angeles. Jack Flaherty, Kodai Senga. It's a battle of a guy that they got at the trade deadline and a guy that we got back from injury at the trade deadline for 5 2/3. It was the night I held the OMG sign. And then he sat again. He was out. But now, Senga's back. And after, a couple innings, a little teaser, he gave the Schwarber homer and then nothing else. We get at least 3, maybe 4 or 5 innings of Senga tonight against a very potent lineup, against a team that has as much money as everyone else, right there with the Mets, right there with the Yankees, and a team that backloaded a bunch of contracts so they could put together the superstar team that they could. Oh, it's going to be a doozy. This whole series is going to be a doozy. And it's a team that's not as set up as the Mets are to have success. The Mets know they're starters. The Dodgers have no idea after Flaherty what their plan is. They think it's going to be Walker Buehler for 1, maybe game 2, and then game 3, maybe a bullpen game, since they're hesitant to go to Yamamoto in game 3, which in my mind is nonsensical. And if they, end up going to Citi Field down 2-0, I think they might be forced to pitch Yamamoto instead of giving them this extra rest. I mean, you have a whole offseason of rest. I know you worry about guys getting hurt and arm injuries and all that, but, your season is on the line. And I think you want your best pitchers when your season is on the line. And your bullpen game is not your best pitchers. I'm sorry. It's just not. It works sometimes. It does. No, there's no denying that bullpen games do sometimes have success. But it's showtime, and you'd rather have Yamamoto in showtime than a bullpen in showtime. Smash that thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Armand in the chat. Hey, Jake, Dodgers may go to a bullpen game 2 and push back Walker Buehler, but Dave Rogers said a final decision. Depending on how much the bullpen is used tonight. Yeah, they have no idea what they're doing. And, yeah, sure, that might work. But the Mets have a plan here. Their plan is Senga a couple innings, then Peterson. Game 2, it's their ace, Sean Manaea. Basically, they have 2 aces starting off the series, and then likely Severino, and then Quintana, and then Senga, and then Manaea. They know. They have a plan in place where the Dodgers are like, let's go off the cuff. And it's worked for them so far, but, barely. They were down 2-1 in the face of elimination against the Padres. They're coming – Freddie Freeman's banged up with an ankle injury. This team is, throwing Kike Hernandez out there. He's having a great October, but he's Kike Hernandez. And I know these no names and these fringe players always end up beating the Mets, but the Mets are locked and loaded. They have a team set up for a deep run. Now they got their rest in. They were, basically playing baseball every day, which it helps, but I'm sure they were glad to sleep in their own beds and get a little rest, and they flew out to L.A. yesterday. But the Dodgers have a lot of question marks, and they can win this series, and it's why I'm thinking this series is going 7. But it just feels like the Mets, who weren't equipped coming into the season, weren't equipped going into the month of June, now the Mets seem like the more equipped team. And like I keep saying, destiny is on the Mets side as well. But you just look at the rosters, you look at the injuries, you look at the rotations, you look at the bullpen. You look how deep the Mets lineup can be, where they have a guy like Jeff McNeil now coming off the bench. You got, JD Martinez off the bench. You have Acuna coming off the bench. They've got options. I don't think the Dodgers have that like the Mets do. They're throwing Tommy Edman, Kike Hernandez out there. It's a lot different. Walker Buehler has an 0-2 record with an ERA of 6.53 and 25 strikeouts and 7 appearances on the road this season. You would think he starts game 2, because of those numbers. Vasia's hurt. Yeah, Vasia, that's a big injury. Having that lefty out of the bullpen is huge. The Mets don't really have it. They have Peterson, the long guy, but their other guy's Danny Young, and Danny Young has not been used yet. Young gets the spot because of the lefties over Adam Ottavino, who basically lets anyone and their mother steal. You couldn't keep Ottavino. It made sense to have McNeil over Ottavino. And then if, God forbid, someone gets hurt in the infield, you have Jeff McNeil there as well. Walker Buehler 1-4 with an ERA 4.6 with 39 strikeouts and 9 appearances at home this season. Yeah, Buehler is not an ace, and he's really not number 2. He's a number 3 or 4. So I really think the Mets have an edge because the Mets pitchers have all been pitching like aces. Quintana, Severino, Minaya, Senga, ace, 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 ace. Peterson, ace. These guys all pitching like number ones, in the words of Mike Francesa. Where the Dodgers have Yamamoto, who's only going to get one start as of now. Something tells me that changes. It just feels so idiotic for Dave Roberts, who's a smart guy and a good manager, to only use his best pitcher once in a National League Championship Series. In some ways, you don't want to overmanage. I think Pat Murphy at times overmanaged in the wild card, helping the Mets out to move on. But you want to manage smart. And you want to manage with a season on the line. And it feels like the Dodgers' sense of urgency mixed in with the injuries is not a team managing with the season on the line. And a team that's played with house money this whole playoffs with the Mets is pushing the right button left and right and has the ability to do a lot of different things. Who would have thought that this Mets team would be saying that they have an edge over the Dodgers? If I said that months ago, you would have called me insane. But there's no denying. This team just looks set up better on paper and with your eyes watching these games. They just look like the better team. And it takes that better team at the right time to go on a run. D-backs last year, the Phillies 2 years ago. Mets dodge a bust by not signing Yama Meatball. Yeah, Yamamoto's interesting because he's getting paid a fortune. A fortune. Had a good year, dealt with injuries, only made 18 starts. Senga only made a couple starts, but the Mets are paying him a lot less than what they're paying Yamamoto. They don't have the same exact contract. I forget the exact number. Somebody put in the chat the difference. I know Senga's, I believe, $575. I forget Yamamoto, I know, is a lot more than that. So it seems like the Mets might have got to deal with Senga despite, the injuries this year. Now they have him. No Vasia means Jeff McNeil will now play a huge role off the bench and no answer for him. I agree, Tebow 452. And I think that's another layer of why they said, why would we not have Jeff McNeil on the roster? You have a lefty bat. You have J.D. Martinez, a righty bat. You have Acuna as a righty bat. The Mets have the answer for whatever the Dodgers bullpen will go to. That's huge. That's a huge layer having Jeff McNeil. Huge. Dodgers got more WBC stars than the Mets. Yeah, they really do, but they're not MLB stars, and that's the difference. And the Mets don't have MLB stars across the roster, but they have guys who are having unbelievable seasons. It would take me 3,000 years to make $300 million. For real. I mean, what a life. 12 years, 325. I forgot that it was that high. Oh, my goodness. That is Snoop Dogg high. That's Wiz Khalifa high. 12 years, $325 million. And Yamamoto, probably going to have a great career. Still a good pitcher. But I agree. I think the Mets, I wouldn't say they dodged a bullet, but I think David Stearns was smart. And he spent wisely. And look at the deals that he got. Severino, 1-year deal. Did great. Minaya, 2-year deal with the opt-out. Did great. They got to do all they can to bring Minaya back. And Minaya, more legacy moments. I called for his legacy moments in Philadelphia. You saw it. Well, the legacy moments ain't done yet. And for me, a big factor in this series, you want to talk about legacy moments, is Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz has been a rocky roller coaster as a New York Met. Outside of 2022, he stresses you the hell out watching Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz has got to be the lockdown trumpet guy this whole series, and especially on the road. We know he's done it. He's done well at home, but Edwin Diaz has got to be that $100 million closer and the reason the Mets signed him. And you like that he's not jumping around in the celebrations. You clearly see he has PTSD from what happened in the WBC. But, man, Edwin Diaz to me is the X factor in this series. And There's going to be close games. There's going to be games that come down to the ninth inning. Can Edwin Diaz get out the likes of Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani? Because from what we've seen of him, he stresses you the heck out, and the Mets can't have that. They need that lockdown guy. And if Diaz is that lockdown guy and it could be a 6-out guy, there's another weapon for Mets bullpen that has Stanek, that has Maytone, that has some good relievers, that has David Peterson. But if they can have Edwin Diaz be 6-out Diaz and lockdown Diaz, this is going to be the Mets series to win. He's that one piece that still scares me. Stanek doesn't scare me much. Maytone scares me, but I think the 4 days off will help Maytone because I think he was overused. Budo scares me, but I think Mendoza's been smart. He hasn't been putting him in close games. I think he realized he's not the greatest reliever to put in close game come playoff time. The league has caught up to him. Budo is a godsend. He's a big reason the Mets are here, but you got to be careful with your usage of Jose Budo in one run and tight games. I think Budo could be your 2-inning guy if you have a 4-run lead or maybe you're down 4, but 1-run, 2-run game, tie game, you got a 1-2-run lead. I don't think they're using Jose Budo. You're using Stanek, using Maytone, and you're hoping for Diaz for 6 outs. WBC stars are the postseason role players in the MLB. All the team in the postseason had WBC stars. Add the $15 million postage fee to the MLB team. It's 12 years, $375 total. Yeah, I mean, that's obnoxious how much they paid him. Oh, obnoxious. And they got lucky with all the backload of money with Ohtani and what they managed to do. But, man, I'm not going to say the Mets lucked out because Yamamoto could still end up having a Hall of Fame career. But from what we've seen so far, they're probably better off. And that's another layer of this series. You got the Yamamoto, Ohtani, Senga, 3 Japanese stars facing off in this series. I think that's another layer in New York, or maybe a tough ticket. Not only are you going to get Met fans, not only are you going to get Dodger fans, you're going to get a big part of the Asian community coming out to see their stars. And Yamamoto, Ohtani in the same game potentially at Citi Field in Game 4 likely, or Game 3. You feel the Dodgers will slow down by hitting poorly because the Padres push the Dodgers too close to the edge. I do think they'll slow down, and I also think injuries. Freddie Freeman being hurt is huge. Freddie Freeman is a Met killer. Always kills his team. So, Freddie Freeman, if he can't run, remember, Freddie Freeman's the guy who could steal bases too. We know Ohtani's a 50-50 guy, but Freeman has speed. But now he's playing on a hurt ankle. He's nowhere near 100%. So the Mets got to take advantage. And, if he does get on base, he's not the same stolen base threat that he might have used to be against the Mets. I think Meatball got a $50 million signing bonus too. Too much Budo equals the Dodgers respond. Yeah, I really just don't think the Mets will go to Budo a lot. He's very stressful. Has not had a good playoffs. Is not trusted. It's going to be a lot of usage of Stanek. Where we will find out what happens is the 3 days in a row. Because remember, they play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think here you could use guys back-to-back and be fine. But that second and third game of that back-to-back-to-back at Citi Field is where the bullpen will be tested, and they need these starters to go deep. And your hope that Sang in a Game 5 can give you 6. If that's the case, Mets are in good shape. Again, tonight I think he gives you 4. If they get 5, it means he had really quick innings. But I see Senga going 4 and then Peterson for 3 tonight, depending on obviously what happens. If Senga implodes early, you go to Peterson sooner. And that's why Peterson is a big Swiss Army knife weapon of this series for the Mets, where you might use him 3 or 4 times. And he's been locked down, and he's got to continue that. Mets must bunt towards Freddie Freeman. Yeah, listen, if you watch or listen to me over the years, my bunt is my favorite player in baseball. So any kind of bunt situation, you could sack bunt over there. You're trying, if Jeff McNeil comes up, bunt for a single. McNeil's another X factor this year. Can he come up late in a game in a big spot and be a factor? Like, if they bring in a righty reliever, you want to pinch it with a lefty, or they bring a lefty in to face Winker. I don't think there's going to be many opportunities for McNeil, but you had to have him on the roster over Adam Ottavino. It just made all the sense. Iglesias still needs to be the starter every game. His defense, what he brings to this team, his clutch hitting. Jose Iglesias has got to start every game. Excuse me. Honestly, I'd be surprised if McNeil does get a start. I think Iglesias will still be out there every night. Mets got the best infield right now. Miones, Cannon at third, Lindor short. Iglesias, Magic left second. Alonso, Cashman will play first base. Yeah, the Mets infield has been very good, and Vientos' improvement has been big, but Vientos has still made some costly errors in his playoffs. He's got to be more sure-handed. I think he's improved greatly, but when there's a runner at third, he seems to think about home before getting the ball first. They can't afford those errors from Mark Vientos. He's got to make those plays. He's been a godsend for this team. He's been unbelievable, but those RBI fielder's choices, and then it's really an error on him. Those can't happen against the Dodgers. You got away with that against a Phillies team that you were better than. Listen, the Phillies had a better first 2 months. The Mets were the better team for 4 months. The Dodgers are overall a better team than the Phillies. Should the Mets walk Freddie with no one on base because of his ankle and try and get the double play? No, because I don't think you want to put anyone on this lineup. Because remember, Teoscar Hernandez was crushing it in the DS. Like, he's another guy behind these guys. You don't want to face Teoscar Hernandez. So I don't think you walk a guy. Listen, if it's 2 outs, runner at second, maybe, but there's still hitters behind him. Remember, Will Smith is another one. Met killer. Teoscar Hernandez really good. Will Smith, Met killer. And don't underestimate the Rojas's and Tommy Edmonds. These are good players. Tonight, it's Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. Again, Teoscar behind him, Will Smith behind him. Then Muncy. Remember, Muncy, power hitter. Kike Hernandez, Lux, Edmund. So I think top to bottom, the Mets are overall better lineup. But, those first 4 or 5 hitters are scared. Even though Freeman a bum ankle, he can still hit one out of the ballpark. Ohtani, same. Betts, same. Teoscar, same. So I think 5 through 9, the Mets are better. But we'll see. For the Mets, it's Lindor, Vientos, Nimmo, Alonso, Marte, Winker, DH, Iglesias, Tyrone Taylor, Alvarez. With McNeil off the bench, JD Martinez off the bench, Luis Torrens off the bench, and Luis Angel Acuna off the bench. Now, if they go to a lefty for Winker, they'll counter with JD. And then maybe the Mets save McNeil for another at bat late in the game. I don't know where McNeil's going to play. I just feel at some point he might come up. It's hard for me to see them pinch hitting him for Marte just because Marte's speed and his bat, he's been big. So I just feel McNeil at some point is going to be a chance. Jake Brown Radio. If you're on this now, give that like, share it, comment. Appreciate the comments in here. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. But give us the likes. Give us the pumpkins. It's still orange October and Halloween's approaching, and we got the ghost forkball tonight. You see, I got the athlete logo shirt on. Put some pumpkins in the chat. Put some ghost and some pumpkins. I want ghost and pumpkin emojis in the chat right now. I hope Senga goes 4, but I see 3 max. Yeah, I think it'll depend on pitches. I think Senga can go up to 50 to 60. But, yeah, I see 3, but I also see 4. We'll see. It all depends on the first couple innings play. I'd love to get 4 out of them, though. Because, listen, I know you're being smart here, but this is the playoffs. You need your big boys. And Peterson's been great, but you're going to need Peterson in a couple of days. So I would like Senga to get 4, and then his next start give us 6. The 5 Golden Glove Marte's had payoff, right outside corner, Bader, center field, Nimmo, right field. Yeah, this will be Marte's last year at the Mets, so we'll see what happens next. It'll be clever. I don't want to talk about the offseason right now, but, this will be – Marte has been fantastic for this team, and I think we question him. I'll always point back to the London series where we all were so mad at Marte for that ball he was lazy on that he should have had in right field. But he has really been big for this team, and I think we've kind of slept on him because of everything else and every other storyline and everyone else on this team being big, but – I appreciate what Marte's done for this team. And I think he's very likable in the clubhouse. And I also think he's got a steal. I got very mad that the Mets barely stole any base last series. I get Real Muto's good, but can the Mets get some goddamn stolen bases this series? Can Marte steal a base? Can Nimmo steal a base? Can Lindor steal a base? They can't play scared. They got to play aggressive. Move guys over. Steal some freaking bases. Luke says, please no Maytone, please no Maytone. I think Maytone is in the right spot. Now, listen, tie game, I agree. I'm stressed with Maytone. And that's why I said earlier, Diaz 6 outs is a big X factor if he can give you 6 outs. And Stanek I trust. Stanek is the guy. You got him for this, for postseason play. And he's been fantastic. for the most part. He gave a garbage time run in the Philly series. But Maytone, if his curveball's on, he's really good. And listen, Maytone's postseason success speaks for itself. So I know he makes you sweat a little bit, but this guy now well rested, I think, can be a factor. So don't sleep on Phil Maytone. If Jack Flaherty on the Mets, he wouldn't make the starting rotation in the playoffs. You're probably right, which shows you how good this rotation has been. That Jack Flaherty's a guy you were thinking the Mets should get him at the trade deadline, and now you're like, holy cow! Like, look who we got in Winker and Brazoban. Well, Brazoban means nothing, but Winker and Maytone and Stanek, and how big they've been in big moments they've had for this team. Where Flaherty has not been great in the playoffs. Armand, no, because you don't want to bring Teoscar running to the base. Yeah, I agree. That's what I said. I said Teoscar is hot. He's a guy in this lineup to scare me. He's going to hit a few homers in this year. Teoscar is going to be a factor. Rojas is not on the roster. Edman is playing shortstop. Yeah, Rojas, I guess, did not make the cut, but Edman is another guy, like one of those guys who you could see being a Met killer. Like, don't sleep on Tommy Edman, a veteran. He's played against the Mets with the Cardinals before and has had some moments, so don't sleep on Tommy Edman. Don't understand the law firm Hernandez. Yeah, for real. And I tweeted that, something about the law firm Hernandez. Kike loves October. He said it. He loves Halloween. He said he had a huge series. And Teoscar is bound to have a really good series and had a good playoff. So be careful, Hernandez. We're reading your comments in the chat right now at Jake Brown Radio, all across social media. I went live on TikTok earlier. Follow me there. Be at Citi Field this week. Can't wait. Follow along on the journey. All social media at Jake Brown Radio. One error out of how many? Vientos defense. No, Vientos, I agree, he's improved, but like he had a couple of those errors at third that those will cost the Mets in this round. They got away with them in the past, and he deserves all the credit. Over this course of the season, Mark Vientos has improved vastly defensively, but he still has his moments. And some of those slow rollers that he's bobbled and everyone's safe will come back and backfire if it happens to the niner and then Shohei Ohtani comes up and hits a home run. There's not a lineup you can get away with those kind of things. So Vientos, surefire those little bobbles, but credit to Mark Vientos, how he's improved in the field. Daniel Cole in the building, Yuki Matsui in the building, Mary's in the building, dropping those ghosts, those pumpkins in the chat. We love it. It's Orange October. It's Ghost Forkball October. Marte could be on the roster next year in platoon at DH with a lefty hitter. I agree. Marte can be here if he's a platoon. I don't think Marte is going to be the everyday player, but I've liked Starling Marte, and he got a lot of hate. Everyone said he came in fat, out of shape, and his defense isn't there. I agree he's not the best defensive player, but big in the lineup. Some big hits, some big insurance runs he's put across for this Mets team in the playoffs. Not convincing me. Please don't Maytone. Luke is not a Phil Maytone fan. I get it. Listen, he hasn't been good of late, but Phil Maytone's been big getting the Mets here, so I give him credit for that. But I agree. Uncle Phil's got to be big for us. R.I.P. Uncle Phil. Maytone over Ottavino. Yeah, no question about it. I think it came down to Ottavino with he hasn't pitched yet, and he lets everyone steal a base. And the Dodgers will run on you. Adam Ottavino wasn't going to pitch in this series. It made sense to have McNeil and obviously Maytone. No Jada Pinkett Smith jokes around Will Smith. Yeah, no slapping in the face is going on in this series. I think it's going to be a feisty series. I could see a moment. I don't know. Maybe it's the Houdini in me. I feel a moment like someone gets hit and someone charges the mound. This is going to be a testy series. I'm fired up for it. I think it's going to be really good. Can't wait for game time, 8:15 tonight. We'll go about 7 to 10 more minutes here. Appreciate you all coming in. I'll try to do these pre-games. I'll do post-games. If you're not subscribed to the Mets Magic Podcast, at SickPodMets, youtube.com/at the Sick Podcast Mets Magic. I didn't realize I can go in the chat as well. So that's nice. Yeah, there's the Mets Magic Podcast. Please subscribe there. We need a new catcher. No, Lindor can't still be. Remember his back. Do you want him catching balls and making double players? I think Lindor's back is hurt, but I think you're seeing he's gotten better. Like he's got enough treatment where he can steal you a base. You can't play scared. So if Lindor doesn't, fine, but everyone else should be all legs on deck. MJ Melendez for the Marte's position will fit perfect. Melendez is interesting, but remember, you also have Ronnie Maurice on the pipeline. You have Luis Angel Acuna who's being the line for a roster spot. And at some point next year, you might have Ryan Clifford. And you have free agency. So, we'll see. Melendez plays outfield now. JDM loves hitting LED Stadium. That's a good point. JD Martinez return against the Dodgers. A lot of people have hated on JD. He, again, another guy coming out with big hits for this Mets team has been JD Martinez. And JD against the Dodgers is a very intriguing storyline. When he comes up, you assume if they throw a lefty, he comes up. Flaherty's a righty, though. Yamamoto's a righty. Buehler's a righty. A lot of righties. Do the Dodgers even have any lefties on the now with Vesia out? Do they have any lefties? I got to look at their roster real quick. Anthony Banda, former Met. So if Banda comes in, you'll see JD come up. I don't know if they have any other lefties, though. Only one lefty. Banda. Yeah, that's all they got. So that is another storyline in this series without Vesia, like just Banda. And the Mets know Banda. They got rid of him pretty quick. Mac is in the chat, says, let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. LGM, LGM, LGM. Give me some LGMs in the chat. MJ Melendez. Yeah, listen, I wouldn't mind MJ Melendez. Not really my worry right now, but he's an interesting name come off season. You worried about LED throwing garbage at our boys from Flushing? I am. I'm worried they're going to try to get in the Mets' head because they realize the Mets are the better team right now. I do worry about that. All righties. Dodger fans said not a big deal, but they forego McNeil was coming back. Yeah, that is an interesting storyline. And, the Phillies threw lefties and the Mets had an answer. They had a response with right-hand hitters. That's interesting that the Dodgers have one lefty and it's Anthony Banda. It's not Sandy Koufax. I mean, we're talking about a fringe reliever. He's had a good year, but it's Anthony Banda. The Mets got to be able to beat Anthony Banda, and they got to hope that Bandas make him dance. LGM's in the chat. Mets are the better overall team. Isn't it funny? Like, we go into a series as the Mets as a better overall team. If you told me that a couple months ago, you would think you're crazy, but it's true. The Mets right now, on paper, everything that they have and how their roster is constructed, they really feel like the better team than the Dodgers at this moment. That's exciting. But on paper only means so much. Drop your predictions in the chat. Mine, Mets in 7. I think their starting pitching is lined up for success where the Dodgers are a lot of what ifs. They're a lot of what do we do? Do we go bullpen? Do we go Yamamoto? Them not having Yamamoto potentially twice, to me, is why I'm giving the Mets the edge. If he pitches game 3, then it's a different story. If Yamamoto is 3 and 7, it's going to be very intriguing. But if he's only game 4 and maybe gives them an inning or two, game 7, the Mets have the edge. They just do. Period. It's not a homer. It's just a reality. As you look at what these teams and these pitchers have done in the playoffs, the Mets have done better. Their starting pitching has done better. Their bullpen has done better. The Mets have just done better than these Dodgers of late. I know the Dodgers have the better overall record, but that almost means nothing. And people were like, look what they did in the regular season. Remember, the last time the Mets played the Dodgers was the worst effing team in MLB game. It was the game where Jorge Lopez threw his glove in the crowd, and then the Mets cut him when he didn't hold himself accountable. And I know he might have said worst effing teammate, whatever he said. It was a game that defined this Mets season and turned the season around. The players-only meeting happened after that. That game feels like a lifetime. Like, what was that Mets team on May 29th, 2024? 11 games under. Lopez toss, throws his glove. It was the same. Who was the third base umpire in that game who threw him out that we had to deal with last week? Was it DeJesus was the third base umpire? I mean, that was a whole different season. And then the Candelita Grimace Mets happened. Because remember, the next day they played the Diamondbacks, a 4-game series at Citi Field. Jose Iglesias got called up that Thursday, and the season turned around. They won the series of the Nationals. Then they went to London and split with the Luis Torrens game. Then Grimace, they lose to the Marlins. You're like, oh, here we go again. And then Grimace throws out the first pitch, and the season turns. And in LA, the Mets won 2 out of 3. So if you want to go back to the April series, the Mets did win. But those are 2 different Mets teams, 2 different Dodger teams. So the regular season, throw it out the window. It was so far ago, it doesn't even matter. If they were to play the Padres, it's a little bit more convincing because they played each other in August, and these are similar teams in August. But not the Mets and Dodgers of April, May. Sorry, not going to look back in the records and tell me the Dodgers have an advantage. Sorry, you're wrong. I know no one said that, but earlier I had someone, we were in Twitter Spaces that was talking about the series in May. I'm like, bro, it doesn't matter. Two different teams. It's irrelevant. Mets the best overall team based. Mets follow the blueprint for Ohtani. We were fine. Ohtani did not have a good round. You feel like he's due, and he's obviously scares you, Shohei Ohtani, but you feel like Shohei Ohtani is due, and that's going to be the guy the Mets got to get out. But here's what's good about the series. The Mets have Quintana, the Mets have Manaea, and they have David Peterson out of the pen. 2 starters, lefties, and a start lefty out of the pen. The Mets are shaped up well to get Freeman and Ohtani out. That's what I love. And you hope you don't have to see Danny Young as the other lefty. But the Mets can get these lefties out. They are built for this. Peterson, Quintana, Manaea. Bing, bang, boom. Let's go. I'm fired up. We're 90 minutes away from first pitch. Well, 8:15, so whatever. 104 minutes away from first pitch. Let me know in the chat, fired up. Give me your predictions. Before we close out, what do we think? Mets in 7 is my official prediction. They go to the World Series, and we get a Subway Series, World Series, Mets, Yankees. I think Yankees beat the Guardians in 6. Mets beat the Dodgers in 7. And for the first time since 2000, my first full season as a fan, we get a Subway Series, World Series. Mets sweep, says Yuki. I'd be shocked if it's a sweep, but I would love 5. Be there for the clincher, another Citi Field clincher. We get 1 in 24 years. How about we get 2 in 1 year? The season's been so magical, then why not? Why not us? God is a Mets fan. Regular season was all pre-Grimace era. Yeah, really. Well, June 1st, June 8th and prior was pre-Grimace. Mets got the ability to keep a defense all game, had the ability to 182 the damage. Season turned around when Vientos was brought up and winning streak happened when Canelita gloves show up. Tony's due, but Peterson was able to shut him down. Mets in 7. Jake, NYC mayoral job is about to open. Can we give Lindor the job of NYC mayor? It'll Lindor or me. I want to be the mayor of New York one day. We'll give it to Lindor for now, and then he'll pass it to me. How about that? Francisco Lindor and Jake Brown as the next 2 mayors of New York. You heard it here first. Dodger first base injury, that's big. First base isn't easy. Ask Harper. Yeah, Freeman injury is a big leg. The Freeman injury and Yamamoto once are why I'm saying Mets. Obviously, I'm saying Mets too because I love this team and I'm a Mets fan. But I just think they have the edge. Injuries, starting pitching, edge, Mets. Pitching wins ball games. And the Dodgers are saying, we'll see. We'll see what we're going to do. They're flying by the seat of their pants, and it might work. That's why I said Mets in 7. That means it could easily be Dodgers 7. One pitch changes that. So even with all these things, the Dodgers are that good that it's going to be a deep series. Smash that thumbs up. If you're in here right now, we're going to wrap up in a minute. Give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe to Jake Brown Radio. Mets Magic link is in the comments. Subscribe to the Mets Magic podcast. I think I'm going to come on here after the game for a post-game show live. Going to do TikTok lives. TikTok's been blowing up lately, so give me a follow on TikTok. I just posted my swag surfing, dancing video. Not the greatest moves, but decent. But big game tonight and tomorrow. I trust Senga. I trust Peterson. And tomorrow I certainly trust Sean Manaea with what he's done. And legacy moments for these guys. Guys who, I think it was smart. I think, Stearns probably in the back of his head, David Stearns, when he signed these guys, said, these guys are fighting for contracts. These guys are fighting for extra millions and millions of dollars. Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, Pete Alonso, legacy moments. These guys want to get paid in a couple of weeks, in a month, 2 months, whenever they sign. This is their shot, and they're proving it so far. But now as the big boy pants are on, you got a trip to the World Series on the line. You have a National League pennant on the line this week. And by this time, next Sunday, we could be celebrating the Mets winning the NL pennant. If not, maybe Monday, or they lose. But I'm not even going to put that out there. Mets in 7. Dodge YouTube pockets of my eyes. Easy to beat jokes on the eyes. A lot of the naysayers of the Mets, I don't think have watched the Mets. Like, there's people who are coming out of the woodwork who are like, this guy's not good. Look at Manaea. Have they watched what we've seen? Every one of these guys has been Cy Young candidates this year. So the people who are watching box score, and if you're watching box scores, it favors the Mets. But if you watch this Mets team, they're stacked. And you could argue they're outperforming. You can argue that these guys are not this good. And maybe they come back down to earth in this big moment. Fine, I'll take that argument. But if you watch this Mets team, these guys have been studs. They're shoving opponents. Starting pitching, shove. Relievers have been shoving. And this Mets team is built for this. They're built for a championship. And the story doesn't end here. It ends when the Mets hold up that third World Series crown. And we party and parade down the Canyon of Heroes. We built the Francisco Lindor statue right next to Tom Seaver's statue outside of Citi Field. They're built for this. Mets over Dodgers in 7, and they take game 1 4-3 tonight. They win the series 4-3. If you agree, give us a like. Ebert and Roper, 2 thumbs up. Smash that thumbs up, like, subscribe, share. We appreciate you hopping on. Jake Brown Radio across all socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Mets Magic Podcast. We are fired up. If you're fired up, give us your prediction in the comments right now. How many games are the Mets winning? Give us pumpkins. I want predictions and pumpkins and ghosts. Ghost, pumpkins, predictions. Go. I'm reading them all now. 60 seconds. I'm going to set the timer. I want you to, in the next 60 seconds, to drop your predictions and your thoughts. Here we go. 60 seconds. Boom. Predictions, pumpkins, ghosts. Let's go. And we're wrapping up in 60 seconds. Mets in 6, says Armand. Bang. I think it's going to be 6 or 7. I'm going 7, but I could see 6. Would love 5. Yassine says Mets in 5. Would love 5 because it means the Mets clinch at home and we could all celebrate together on Friday night. It's a 5 p.m. game, which means at 8, 9 o'clock, we can know the result. Would love 5 games is my ideal outcome of this series. Obviously 4, but that's unrealistic. Malaza says 5-game series. Sadly, Mets celebration in California. Well, if it's 5, that means they'll celebrate at Citi Field. So it's 2-3-2. So that would be here. Mets in 6, says Mary. Everyone's saying Mets. I love it. I love the positive energy. 15 more seconds. Get your predictions in the chat. And then I'm finishing this thing up and I'm eating dinner, getting ready for the Mets game. We'll throw the Giants maybe on the laptop. Dodgers don't have good starting pitching, says Yassine. TBO452 says Mets in 7. 5 more seconds. Get a prediction. Jake, Mets and Jets on Monday night could be amazing. I agree. Malaza, it is a best of 7. Yeah. Best of 7. Boom. There's your predictions. Let's go. Love the positivity. Let's go, Mets. No, 2-3-2, Malaz. It's 2-3-2. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are at Citi Field. 6 on Sunday, 7 Monday if necessary. Let's go, Mets. Everyone enjoy the game. Let's go, Senga. We got the shirt. We got the Ghost Forkball shirt. I'll see you here, right here after the game. Within 5 minutes of last pitch, we will be live. We'll be reading your comments. And soon enough, I will get people involved and do video and StreamYard and get other people on here. But enjoying the commentary right now from you guys. Let's go, Mets. We'll see you after the game around 11:30. Let's win this damn thing. 4 wins from the World Series. Let's get it. Let's celebrate in New York City. Thanks for watching. Smash that thumbs up. Share this on your socials right now. Thank you so much. Let's go, Mets. Let's do it.